I'm here with James Grande. Welcome to the Better Baseball MLB DFS Playbook live stream here, breaking down Friday's 13-game main slate live on the Better Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm social channels. James, happy Friday, my friend.
Happy freaking Friday, John. It's been a long week here, a very successful one here at Fantasy Alarm at Better Sports Network in the MLB DFS streets. If you head over to our Discord channel, you can see all the green shots being sent in. John, you flirted with a couple takedowns back-to-back nights. Maybe if you decided to stop being so cheap and play a little more, maybe you would have. I'm just kidding, but maybe actually not really.
If Shohei Ohtani could have more than 3 fantasy
That's
points last night, it would have been cool. I'll
for the
say
first time in like 2
Yeah.
weeks. Yeah, I mean it's been a nice little run. It's our final live stream of the week. I'm wearing a collared shirt. Now, you asked me before we got on, you're like, collared shirt today. I will say, a couple of my friends in high school, like, we started this thing called FCF, and every Friday it was called Fresh Clothes Friday, and we
Okay.
would go into school with our nicest attire, never suits or anything, but like the nicest clothing we could do. So maybe we'll start an FCF here, John. Every Friday we'll get dressed up, and instead of just wearing the same shirts and pants that we wear like for 5 straight days,
Yeah.
Nobody go review the tapes on what kind of shirts that John and I wore the last week.
Here's the problem. We basically do like 3 shows in a day. So there are a lot of streams that I'm just wearing the same shirt. It's not because I'm wearing the same shirt each day. It's just that we record so many videos
Yep.
and so many streams and so many other things that like
we're just in the same clothes.
Yeah, I gotta do the Portnoy. Portnoy says he does like 40 pizza reviews in a day when he goes to cities, and he just changes shirts, so he's not always wearing the same shirt in the video to make it look like it's a new thing. I'm gonna have to just start doing that. I think between all the streams. Those of you who are tuning in now, maybe you just caught me on the Better Sports Betting Show with Howard Bender. So basically getting 2 hours of me here talking some betting and talking now some MLB. Not NBA, but some MLB DFS. James Grande did have the NBA DFS playbook out for everybody for tonight's Game 4 matchup between the Heat and the Nuggets. Justin Vreeland was on your playbook today, so you can check that out over on FantasyAlarm.com as well. If you're not yet a member of the Fantasy Alarm family, well, you see the scroll down at the bottom. No better time to join than now. FantasyAlarm.com/all-pro. Promo code MLB50 saves you 50% off the first 6 months. That's $19.98 a month for the first 6 months there. And you get access to everything that we do on site. Literally, whatever we put on site, you get access to all premium tools, all premium content, and access to our premium Discord. Plus, NFL Draft Guide's coming out soon, within weeks. The NFL Draft Guide will be there. If you sign up and have an active All-Pro subscription package, you get access to the NFL Draft Guide there as well for the upcoming fantasy football season. So all of that for about $20 for the first 6 months, which, we're at the start of June. Do the math. 6 months, you're into the NFL season now for that $20 a month here. So
you're into the postseason. You're into the postseason.
So like you're getting the entire fantasy football season for $20, man. Like DFS seasonal content. So no better time now. Sign up. Get with the family here. Even better, we have a 7-day free trial. So if you sign up and in 7 days you hated it, well, okay. If you signed up in the last couple of days and followed our content here on the live stream, you already paid for it. We had some killer nights here on the MLB DFS streets, and we're going to continue that with tonight's 13 gamers. So James, housekeeping aside, let's get into the slate here. Let's go to Las Vegas, take a look at some totals, look at some spreads. What are we looking to highlight here tonight?
Yeah, so there is definitely some interesting things developing. I'm trying to find what the number. Okay, so Jordan Montgomery, I'll just go right there because I think that's going to be a hot topic for us tonight, John. Opened at -181, currently at -170, taking on the Cincinnati Reds on the road. Liu Darvish and the San Diego Padres heading into Coors Field. It is a 13-game slate with Coors Field, always our favorite type of slate. Yu Darvish and the Padres -195 on the road. -195 is AJ Smith Shawver. is I think the correct pronunciation there.
Not Smith Schuster, Smith Schaefer.
Not Smith Schuster. Not not. I mean, maybe we'll see. I guess we'll see the correct pronunciation when the broadcast booth goes
Sure.
live. Biggest favorite on the board: Adrian Hauser and the Milwaukee Brewers, -240. That's up a little bit from the open, -224. You can get it on FanDuel, -250 for slightly worse odds. Um, that's like the only significant favorite. Tyler Wells and the Baltimore Orioles -180 favorites at home against Daniel Lynch and the Royals. And then when we go over to our totals, we have 9, and it wasn't 9.5. It has now been bet down to 9 runs in Dodgers Phillies, 9 implied runs in Mets Pirates. We have 10 implied runs in Washington Atlanta, 9.5 implied runs in Oakland Milwaukee. Cincinnati St. Louis, John, opened at 9, now 8 implied runs across the industry. 11.5 is a half a run up from where it opened in Coors Field.
We're down a run in Cincinnati St. Louis.
We are down a full run across every sports book: PointsBet, DraftKings, BetMGM, Caesars, FanDuel, Unibet. Open at 9. It is at 8 implied runs on every one of those sports books this evening, and that's really where we lie right now. It's actually 10.5 in some places for Washington, Atlanta. If you want to play, over on DraftKings Sportsbook, 10.5 on FanDuel, 10. So interesting total.
That is kind of interesting to see a full. That's a big number to see a full
Big
one
number.
drop.
Yep.
And that'll probably break into some of the ownership here tonight because we'll get into pitching and we'll come across it when we get there. But some decent rostership numbers on some of these guys here today. James, when we get into starting pitching here tonight, talk to me about your favorite guys here. Obviously, top price plays: Cole, Javier, Ohtani, Castillo, kind of top loaded here. Are you looking to key in on any of those pitchers here, or do you find yourselves on a 13-game slate eliminating some, focusing more on others?
Yeah, so I'm okay getting to Garrett Cole if you'd like. Boston's offense definitely has been worse of late than it was. I'm okay getting to Christian Javier. We profiled it on this morning's podcast where strikeouts are down, but he's been awesome because the walks are also down. He's just not pitching deep enough into games for me to warrant a 10-8 price tag. So for this top tier, I really am getting to the guys facing each other. And that's unfortunate that they're facing each other because only one of them can win. And you have to pick the right one. But the field is kind of with me. 2 of the 3 most popular pitchers are Shohei Ohtani and Luis Castillo. We know Ohtani's upside. And on DraftKings, he's the 3rd highest priced pitcher on the slate. We know what the Mariners do is strike out a whole bunch against right-handed pitching. They are 2nd in the league in that category. They also have a 680 team OPS, which is bottom 10 in the league, and to be exact, it is 24th in terms of OPS against right-handed pitching. So hard not to like Ohtani. But on the flip side, for all the thump that the Angels have in their lineup, even adding Joe Adell to that mix with the call-up last night, including a home run from Joe Adell as well, rhymes, bars. Castillo's been amazing. Kind of what he's been for the last 2 years in Cincinnati, and then right. Well, even before the trade, he was awesome. And then it was like, all right, like we got to maximize value. Let's go out and get a top end starter. Well, top end starter they have. I mean, in the last 19 innings, he's allowed 1 earned run and has 24 strikeouts to 5 walks. Like this guy has been everything that they've bargained for. 2.55 ERA on the year. He has 82 strikeouts in 70 innings. It's just a matter of does his team, kind of like the Ohtani factor, had kind of what we talk about every day, where it's like, oh, Shohei went 3 for 4, pitched 7 innings, had 13 strikeouts, and they lost 2-1. Well, Luis Castillo is kind of suffering from that too, because he's lost a game in which he gave up 1 earned run to Texas his last time around.
Right.
So one of them probably have to win, but given their luck, it's probably 0-0 going into the 9th inning, and then there's a walk-off, right? So
yeah,
I think my favorite 2 arms of the top tier and of the 9K and above range are Shohei Ohtani and Castillo. And I could see a case getting to Cole because Boston's, like I mentioned, but Ohtani and Castillo are 1 and 2 for me.
Yeah, the Red Sox lineup is always kind of top heavy. Verdugo, Yoshida, Turner, Devers. Duvall is back tonight for Boston. So definitely add. I mean, Duvall was maybe the hottest hitter in baseball when he got hurt. But then you look at the second half of that lineup: Casas, Arroyo, Wong, Hernandez. Like that is doable just to kind of mow through there for Cole. So I agree with you. And we talk about it. We generally talk about it on smaller slates, but you can go ahead and look at Castillo, and you talk about him. 22 fantasy points without getting a win. So like you could pitch them both and hope that this is like you mentioned, a 2-1 game, and one guy gets 28, one guy gets 22, and you're sitting pretty on a large slate. There's more available value to play, so you can kind of double spend up for sure as well. But when we break down into this mid tier here, a guy that I found myself kind of just plugging in is Tyler Wells, going up against Kansas City here. He's $8,300. He's pitching really well. We know at his home ballpark is turned into more of a pitcher's park, given since they made those changes there, and that's translated for him. 6 starts at home this year, a 2.46 ERA, a 185 batting average against, 40 strikeouts in 36 innings. Kansas City's a team that we like to generally profile against lefties at times. So if he can maybe dodge the Salvi Perez home run here, I know there are lefties in this lineup for Kansas City, but I do like Tyler Wells a lot in the mid tier tonight.
Yeah, and he's not going overlooked. He is the second highest projected rostered pitcher tonight, and that's what you and I kind of speculated on the stream. He has been an elite strikeout pitcher. Tyler Wells, an elite strikeout pitcher. He's been just kind of that guy all year. 5 straight games of 7+ strikeouts. He has done that 6 times total this year. And that's Kansas City's MO. 24.9% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching this year. 5th highest mark in the league. So, yeah, I mean, they're an exploitable offense. The ballpark is 17th in runs per game, which is better than last year, but still obviously worse than league average. It used to be top 5 every single year in, year out. It was top 5 in terms of offense. And since they moved the walls back, that's obviously changed. So, yeah, I mean, I can get to Tyler Wells. It's just a matter of on a 13-game slate, right? You can be chalky at pitcher and then just be so different elsewhere because there's 26 offenses you're choosing.
Right, exactly.
We don't need to
recreate the wheel at pitching.
Correct. Now, there's also obviously the other case where, and I made this argument to you on the podcast last night, Yuri Perez, who's $8,900, is going just flat unowned. And nobody is going to him. He was one of the top pitching prospects in baseball before the call-up. And he just is coming off one of his best starts of the year against Oakland. Granted, it was Oakland. But you mentioned last night, Eloy Jimenez left the game, not in the lineup tonight for the White Sox. That obviously depletes them as a team. An already bad lineup, now getting worse. And Perez, for just a second time in his career, threw 88 pitches, which I think is a significant number and something that could lead to more pitches. Now, he did that in his debut and then immediately fell back down to 78, 82, 79. But 88 leads me to believe that more is on the horizon. If he can limit the walks against the White Sox offense that doesn't walk to begin with, we could be getting deeper into this game. If you are going the route of I don't want to play the second most rostered pitcher on tonight's slate, going to Yuri Perez could be an approach, worthwhile. Because again, sub 1%. He's sitting there with guys. These are the guys in the tier with Yuri Perez in terms of ownership. Yeah. Rich Hill, Josiah Gray, Tyler McGill, Luis Medina, Austin Gomber. Those are the names he's sitting with.
In terms of rostership percentage.
Right. Yuri Perez is levels above every single one of those names.
Yeah. Yes. For sure. Rich Hill's pitched well, but I mean, Yuri Perez, this is the wild thing about Yuri Perez, right? Drafted 2021 at 18 years old in the majors by age 20, 2023. He did not pitch at all in AAA, skipped AAA, had 6 starts at AA this year before getting called up. Obviously had 17 starts last year at Double-A at just 19 years old. Number 7 prospect in baseball coming into the year. So getting fast tracked. And then you talk about it. Now, the White Sox have obviously had guys in and out of their lineup all year long. But on the year against right-handed pitching, 288 WOBA, 231 batting average, a 140 ISO, and a 23% strikeout rate. So certainly profiles pretty well for Yuri Perez here. Kansas City is sort of in the same boat, just another team that just really struggles against right-handed pitching, 25% strikeout rate, 288 WOBA as well. Those two teams are matching in terms of WOBA, 225 batting average there. So both of them, you could, again, we talk about it. You also don't have to spend up at all on the slate. You can play Wells and Yuri Perez there in that 8K range and get to them. Let's talk about some 7K tier pitchers here.
Yes, this is the this is probably the most interesting part of the slate.
Definitely the most interesting part of the slate. You have Logan Allen against Houston. You have Rich Hill against the Mets. Desclafani against the Cubs. We have Montgomery here against Cincinnati. Kikuchi against Minnesota. Lively is against St. Louis. That is the DraftKings 7K tier. Our guy Mark Pitts in chat. Can Kikuchi beat Satan's team? That is Minnesota, because we're always looking to stack Minnesota here. So he wants to know, do we think that he can get by against the Twins here tonight, here, James?
So we talked about this on the stream last night, and I think a Yusei Kikuchi start can go one of two ways at all times, right? There's a lot of power allowed by Yusei Kikuchi. There's also a lot of strikeout upside, and that's what we have here. We know Minnesota has some guys that can thump. We also know Minnesota is a team that can strike out a lot against left-handed pitching. They have a 27.3 left-handed pitching. That is second in baseball. They also have like a relatively decent 154 team ISO against lefties. So like not the best thing for Kikuchi, because power continues to just be like his Achilles heel. Not that 154 is like even league average, but I think that Kikuchi is getting the right ownership behind him. He's like he's in the top 5 in terms of ownership tonight. And I think it's warranted. He's $7,100 with strikeout upside. We just need to dodge the home run ball. Will that happen? Find out next episode on will it happen? I don't know. That's just, every Yusei Kikuchi start.
Yeah, that is certainly the struggle there, but he does strike out a lot of guys, like you mentioned, and Minnesota does strike out a lot. So if you can avoid the home runs against a team that has some power, then sure. If you're talking about tournaments, a good pivot, because, I mean, you mentioned it, full run drop on that Cincinnati St. Louis game, and then you're coming out here, and you mentioned at the top of the show before we went live that Jordan Montgomery is getting some of the highest rostership at the starting pitching position today.
Yeah, he's the 4th highest projected owned pitcher at 19%. And, that's slightly behind Luis Castillo. It's further, pretty significantly down from Tyler Wells and Shohei Ohtani, who are in a tier of their own. But it's scary, because the Reds offense that has already been decent against left-handed pitching this year added a very potent bat in Ellie De La Cruz. And now Cincinnati hasn't exactly hit for power. They're have one of the fewest or the lowest ISOs in baseball against left-handed pitching. They have a very solid team 50 or 759 OPS as a team, which ranks 11th in all of baseball, which, anytime you're above league average by that much, that's pretty solid. So it's definitely a scary spot. And then you factor in that Jordan Montgomery just really hasn't gotten people out this year. It's a good ballpark to pitch in. Obviously, St. Louis is a good park. There is, reason to think that there's positive regression coming his way. He was in no way this bad last year. He was awesome last year.
No, he's great.
But dude, righties are just crushing him. And the Reds have 9 in their lineup
Yeah.
this evening.
And they have one in
9.
particular named Ellie De La Cruz, which is,
Right.
as I mentioned, I think just changes the dynamic of that offense now, right? Like
It does.
there's always a guy in a lineup that you kind of had to like, well, if we can get by this guy, like maybe we'll be okay. Until Ellie got called out, that guy was like Spencer Steer or Tyler Stevenson. Not to besmirch those two guys, right? Like they're
Sure.
fine players. I
Yeah.
like Spencer Steer, like Stevenson, but Ellie De La Cruz is a game-changing bat in the middle of a lineup.
Yep.
So it just changes everything for them now. So listen, I was very surprised to see the total drop, and I was very surprised to see the rostership there because and we'll talk about stacks in a bit, like a lot of Reds here tonight.
Same.
So it'll be interesting to see just if we're in a spot now where we're getting Reds at 3-4% tonight because people are playing. One, it's a huge slate, 13 games, so a lot of people can go in different directions, and everybody's playing Jordan Montgomery. Means few and fewer people are playing Reds here tonight. So when I'm in been playing the $4 20 max lately, just throwing a couple lineups in there. We'll certainly have some Reds exposure. What's your favorite 7K pitcher in this range?
Probably Kikuchi.
Okay.
I'm personally not. I think it's a situation for me for Montgomery that I'm fading, and I'm going to bite the bullet. I think I'll be different in
Okay.
that if that's what it comes down to. I know the run drop, and I understand it's a good pitching environment. But dude, there's 9 righties in this lineup, and he's not getting righties out. Like 212 ISO, 351 WOBA. Not great. 45% hard hit rate. Not great. Like none of those numbers bode well for Jordan Montgomery. Now, lefties do nothing against him, but that doesn't matter because they have none tonight. So give me Kikuchi in this tier, and I'm fading Jordan Montgomery.
Okay. I gotta just ask you what your thoughts then are on Desclafani here, because the Cubs of late have been pretty dreadful
Yeah.
against right-handed pitching over the last 2 weeks. They rank dead last in ISO 0.058. 0.058 isolated power against right-handed pitching with a 30.8% strikeout rate. They have a 220 WOBA, a 156 batting average. That is the Cubs against right-handed pitching.
I'm indifferent. Because Anthony Desclafani has been okay. Looking at some numbers, like he's been striking righties out at a pretty good clip, 23.7%. And we know the Cubs do have a decent amount of righties. It looks like 4 projected in their lineup tonight. I don't think we have an official Cubs lineup yet. But he's bad against lefties, an 11% strikeout rate. So if the Cubs do throw out Hap, Talkman, Mervis, Mastroboni, like they do have a bunch of lefties and 336 WOBA, 164 ISO, both subpar. So, like, I get it. It's probably similar to a guy that I'm going to mention that we're both going to mention the next year, like in terms of upside, because he's only had more than 6 strikeout once this year. I don't know what the ceiling on Anthony Desclafani is in this spot, but 7,400 is a good price. It's a great ballpark to pitch in.
Yeah.
I'm okay getting in like a 3 max or a 20 max, getting to some Desclafani, but like a single lineup, I don't think I'd have much.
Okay. Yeah, just the recent numbers against righties for me just kind of popped
Right.
off the page. I mean, an 058 ISO is horrible.
Horrible.
And against his righties, so like it's a decent sample size there,
Right.
given they face a lot of righties. You mentioned the next tier below. Who's the guy that you're targeting in the value tier down here?
I mean, I'm just going to go to Adrian Hauser. I know there's not a lot of strikeout equity, but he's the biggest favorite on the board. Oakland's been the worst team in baseball against righties in pretty much every category. I know they've dropped all the way down to 4th in terms of strikeout rate.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy, like 3 teams have passed them, but it's still a 25.5% strikeout rate. They have a 650 team OPS against right-handed pitching. That's second to last, only in front of Detroit. So I'm going to go Hauser. I think there is some strikeout upside. He's never been a high strikeout guy, but let's say he combines his Cincinnati efforts with his San Francisco efforts, and he has 5 strikeouts with the 7 innings, 1 run, and a win. Like all he does is good ground ball outs. Oakland's going to have a hard time putting the ball in the air against this guy. So give me Adrian Hauser 6K. He's clearly my top value.
Yep, a guy that's always profiled better at home as well. I mean, only 2 starts this year at home, but 2.89 ERA. But you go back over the course of years, Hauser a good home guy. I like that 6K on a big slate. It allows you to do a lot of things here. So I'm with you. That's my value play. I don't really have interest anywhere else. Is there anybody else that you would consider tossing out there today?
Nope.
I agree with you. All right, let's go on over then to the catcher position here, James. We'll take a look. Some guys, W.D. Smith is at the top. He's $5,800. Ranger Suarez is there. Righties are hammering Ranger Suarez. The Dodgers are one of my favorite bets of the day, just across the board. Against left-handed pitching on the season, the Dodgers, 251 ISO, 341 WOBA, 485 slugging percentage. But over the last 2 weeks, 456 WOBA, a 375 ISO, and a 705 slugging percentage. The Dodgers against Southpaws here. Ranger Suarez, again, hammered by righties. He's got to deal with Mookie Betts, W.D. Smith, J.D. Martinez, right up there in the middle of that lineup. I'm looking at the Dodgers to score some runs today, and I am looking at W.D. at the top to do the damage.
Yeah, his numbers are absolutely absurd against left-handed pitching. 412 isolated power mixed into there. My only concern for the Dodgers at all, and I think that's why they're not owned tonight at all. Like, they're one of the lowest roster teams of the day. And I think they're also because of the price.
Yeah, well, pricing for sure.
Pricing for sure is that Ranger Suarez just induces so many ground balls this year. Like, it's pretty crazy. His ground ball rate, 53%. Only a 19.8% fly ball rate. Now, righties are killing him. 203 ISO, 398 WOBA, but he's only allowed 2 home runs. And obviously, like, if you're paying $1,500, you want home runs. I'm still okay getting to Smith because I think the Dodgers can kind of like break that rule or break that, like, Rangers not giving up home runs. Well, tonight he's probably going to. So, yeah, I think W.D. Smith is like far and away the top spend at the position. And I'm actually okay getting to someone like Elias Diaz here because, we're the first person we're dipping our toes into cores. Colorado has definitely been better against righties this year.
Yeah.
And Yu Darvish has not been all that great. So, like, of the top tier guys, I don't have a lot of interest in anyone other than Will Smith, but I would possibly go Elias Diaz if playing a Colorado stack because he's been good against right-handed pitching this year. And Yu Darvish just has a tough task pitching in cores. Like, there's been a significant weird shift in power this year. 205 ISO against right-handed batters this year for Yu Darvish. 180 ISO for Elias Diaz. Could be a match made in heaven for Diaz
here. Yeah, I like it. Again, he's just kind of been hitting everybody in general there anyways. What are your thoughts on the Braves catching situation today going up against Josiah Gray?
I mean, Sean Murphy has been extremely potent against right-handed pitching this year. I'm really shocked that he was out of the lineup yesterday, but I guess it didn't matter because they still scored 13 runs, right? It was still,
And righties are doing the damage against Josiah Gray this year as well. 477 slug, 348 WOBA. They've hit 6 of the 8 home runs that he's allowed this year as well.
Yeah, so I'm definitely in on. Look, you could definitely get behind a stack. You and I have not really stacked against Josiah Gray much this year because he's been better.
Yeah.
But there's always that chance. We saw it in the first game this year that he looked like the old Josiah Gray, where he gave up a bunch of power, gave up a bunch of home runs. And Atlanta is one of those teams that has light tower power pretty much 1 through 9. So I could definitely get to Sean Murphy if I'm not playing El Gary. Bring it on, baby. El Gary the GOAT at $3,900. I mean, dude, what happened?
What did happen?
What happened?
Yeah, $3,900. Gary Sanchez, our guy Mark Pittsy in your chat. Higher ceiling, Gary Sanchez or Francisco Alvarez, who's got 3 homers over the last 2 games, coming off of a double dong night there as well. Guys, if you're watching in, you're tuning in, feel free to throw some questions in chat. James and I will certainly answer those for you all here. El Gary in Coors against the
Dude.
lefty, $3,900.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel either, or any of our platforms either. Look, 2016, Gary Sanchez has walked through the door. At least he's peeked through the door, right? Um, in in a very, very minimal sample, he has a 600 ISO and a 509 WOBA against left-handed pitching. He's hitting everything out of the ballpark. Dude, this is exactly what happened when he arrived to the Yankees. Like, everything just started to leave the ballpark, and you were like, holy cow. Do you see where he's hitting tonight?
Yeah.
The Padres lineup just came out, John. He's hitting fourth.
Yeah. Middle of the Padres lineup in Coors.
Fourth.
He's ahead of him. Soto's ahead of him. Who's third? Xander?
No, Machado. It's
Tatis.
Tatis.
Third. Right.
Yeah, and they moved Xander fifth.
That's
like,
what it was. Yeah.
This is a very crazy development. So, Mark, to your question, and we'll bring it back up, higher ceiling. I know Francisco Alvarez is coming off a double dong and just broke the slate on Thursday, but he hasn't hit left-handed pitching. He's done all his damage against right-handed pitching. And I know Rich Hill has also struggled has struggled against right-handed bats. Francisco Alvarez has a 086 ISO and a 190 WOBA against left-handed pitching with a 24% strikeout rate. Like, he's hitting second, sure, and he's coming off a great game. I'll say Gary Sanchez tonight has the higher ceiling.
He's probably the chalk catcher too tonight, right, Gary Sanchez? Now that he's hitting cleanup, I would imagine more people might gravitate to that at $3,900 for field exposure.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up, but before I even pull it up, my assumption is that's most of where the field's gonna go. Mm-hmm. Let us look right now. He's one of the. Let's just say this. I don't even have to look at catcher to see Gary Sanchez named at the top of the list.
One of the highest rostered players.
He is one of the highest rostered players. He is one of 7 players on tonight's slate. That is including pitcher that has a rostership percentage of 20% or more.
Yeah.
One of 7 players, including pitcher, not even catcher. So, like, I know he's going to be chalky. I understand it. But you're getting a guy who has 4 home runs in his first handful of games with the team that we know throughout the years has hit for power. It's Gary Sanchez and then the field for me, Mark, and everyone else that's tuning in. But obviously moving to someone like Francisco Alvarez is a viable pivot.
Yeah, that's probably the pivot there, right? I mean, listen, we talk a lot on large slates. Like, you don't have to be contrarian everywhere. And Coors Field, like, the numberships are going to be there for him. If he misses, like, that's fine. If you're playing one lineup, play Gary Sanchez tonight. If you're playing 3, put him in 2, fade him in 1, right? Like, you're going to want to have the exposure here because, again, after that, like, there isn't a ton. You can play Alvarez if you want for a couple $100 cheaper. Like, that's fine. Kyber gets a lefty. Stevenson gets a lefty there. Similar price points, sure. No one's going to be on those guys. But there's not a ton of, like, obvious value plays on the board tonight. Jeffers is a guy I had liked to hit lefties in the past, but this year he's not hitting lefties at all. He does have some power. You talked about Kikuchi. Pure punt play, $2,700. Ryan Jeffers, maybe, but I don't know. Where else, like, would you go down here? Is there an obvious value catcher for you?
I don't know if it's obvious, but one that I would consider is James McCann down here, 2,400. I know we've tried this song and dance against left-handed pitching before. He's hitting 6th officially in the Orioles lineup, a lineup that we like against left-handed pitching. He is currently in the midst of something. In his last 3 starts, he has at least an extra base hit in all 3, including a home run. So he has been slightly more productive. And when you look at James McCann's splits this year, okay, John?
Yep.
All he does, and it's something that you and I talk about for Miguel Vargas when we get to second base. All he does is hit power. 173 ISO against left-handed pitching this year. Daniel Lynch, not a big sample, so excuse my voice crack there. Daniel Lynch from last year and this year against right-handed bats, 165 ISO allowed, 346 WOBA. So, like, I'm okay getting to James McCann. Now, the Orioles lineup does not look great. Like, Aaron Hicks is hitting 4th, but we've talked about Aaron Hicks kind of like having this random renaissance with the Orioles.
Yeah.
But Austin Hayes is back to hitting lefties. The top half of their lineup has really good numbers against lefties. James McCann hitting 6th. Even the bottom of their lineup and Mateo and McKenna both have pretty good numbers against lefties overall. This is a good lineup against lefties. I'd be okay punting James McCann if playing Orioles at $2,400.
Yeah. I agree with you there. Let's move on over to first base. Before we do that, our guy BZ4225, thanks for tuning in. Wants to know Ozuna or Harris. Harris starting to heat up, man.
He is. He is, but like, right, dude. Osuna again last night off a righty. Like, dude, he has been on a different planet in terms of power. 211 ISO, 337 WOBA. I agree, John, that Michael Harris heating up, but give me Osuna just, for power, straight power upside.
Yeah, off Josiah Gray here. Again, righties doing damage off Gray this season, not the lefties. So I'm with you there. Give me Ozuna. And we'll cover the outfield here momentarily. Let's go over to first base. When you're looking at this first base position here, I immediately went to Spencer Steer, $4,300. I like Anthony Rizzo, 44. I like those two mid-tier options here. What are you keying in on tonight at first base?
I love how you're steering this position in the right direction, John. I like Matt Olson, if you're spending up, has some of the best odds to hit a home run on the slate. I think you can play Anthony Rizzo at Yankee Stadium. We've talked about the splits extensively. When Anthony Rizzo is in Yankee Stadium versus anywhere else, there's just like this superhero feeling for him. And obviously it's a worse lineup with no Judge hitting in front of him anymore, but he does have Giancarlo hitting in front of him. So I fully agree on your Spencer Steer play. When you're like dropping down below, I mentioned Nolan Jones in our outfield breakdown last night, but you can play him at first or outfield. I think there's something to be said here about the Rockies, who just don't go. They don't get played when they're in Coors. And I know Yu Darvish is opposing him, but again, Yu Darvish hasn't really been good this year outside of a handful of starts. Like, this hasn't been the usual Yu Darvish we're acclimated to. And Nolan Jones has been awesome lately in the stolen base department, in the extra base department. Like, he was a top prospect. And the Rockies just haven't used him until lately. And he's, proven to be a stud. So $3,900 feels really, really good for this
I like Nolan Jones here a lot. If we're working our way down some more value, you mentioned Jones. Moustakas is first base only at $3,300. Cleveland, we got to at least mention them. Last night, obviously, came through for us big time. Ramirez had 3 home runs. Last 2 weeks, Cleveland here, against righties, the numbers still don't really like pop off the page, but we know that they are at least getting slightly better, and they don't strike out. Anything for Naylor or Bell tonight against Javier?
No, I think I'm going to stay away. I have a value play down here, but
317 WOBA, 280 batting average against righties the last 2 weeks for them, 5th best. So
it's interesting.
Starting to come around just a little bit. Give me your value play then.
My value play, same as it was last night. I'm going to go back to the well with Cody Clemens, who I know there's a lefty starting, but Victor Gonzalez hasn't spanned more than 1 1/3 this year. They're going to go to Michael Grove for the bulk innings, and Michael Grove has been awful. He should be called Michael Groove because that's what he does. He grooves pitches down the middle, particularly to left-handed bats. This year, John, left-handed batters, the left-handed variety, 308 ISO, 495 WOBA, 44% hard hit rate against Michael Grove. And Cody Clemens is not exactly like going to pop off the page. But then you look at the sample against right-handed pitching, 197 ISO, 2nd on the team, 3rd on the team, Bryce Harper slightly edging him out, 3rd on the team, 334 WOBA, like pretty respectable numbers. The only issue is he strikes out. Michael Grove has an 11% strikeout rate against left-handed bats. Like, the only way you afford Philly tonight is getting someone like Cody Clemens into your lineup. Philly's not really going all that home.
It's an interesting game stat, right? Because think about it. Cody Clemens is $2,600 if you didn't want to play Freeman against Suarez because of lefty-lefty. That's fine. You can plug in Clemens there. You can plug in Vargas, who's going to be a cheap second baseman option that we're going to talk about. And then you can spend up for the sort of the top tier guys in this game, like a Bryce Harper, like a Mookie Betts, like a JD Martinez, like a WD Smith. So there are options in this game, both value and top tier, yeah, you could potentially get to here. Two bad pitchers. So I like that call a lot. I just got to throw one more question out to you here. Thoughts on Brandon Belt, 974 OPS, last 10 for him here, going up against Sonny Gray, who's, after a really, really good stretch, Sonny Gray starting to come back to earth a little bit. Any love for Brandon Belt at $2,400?
Yeah, mild interest. I like that he's hitting third. I like the numbers against right-handed pitching. 191 ISO, 386 WOBA. So yeah, I'm okay with it. If you want to play the top half of the Blue Jays lineup, it's
Yeah,
quite
that's
appealing.
kind of where I'm looking at. Again, not like a ton of great numbers in general for hitters against Gray,
Right.
but lefties are hitting 266 versus righties just hitting 203 off Sonny Gray this year. So again, Belt starting to actually be a viable option, sitting there at $2,400. Moving on over to second base here. Mentioned Mookie Betts has that multi-position eligibility, $6,200. I'm a big fan of that. Where are you going next, though? Nolan Gorman's potentially in play. Altuve's got a lefty here. What's your next second baseman?
Honestly, not a position that I find myself
Sure.
spending up at. I like Owen Miller, 3,800 leading off. I know, the lust has kind of faded for Owen Miller, but they're going to get Luis Medina as the bulk pitcher here. And I think Owen Miller has pretty solid upside
Yeah.
against Medina because what we know about Milwaukee here is that they hit righties significantly better than they hit lefties. Like particularly Willie Adames, who's going to hit right behind him, Owen Miller himself. So I really like Owen Miller leading off. And Luis Medina has been just kind of dreadful against bull splits, but 373 ISO allowed to righties, 435 WOBA allowed to righties. That Miller Adames Contreras top half of the lineup is like really appealing. And I talked it on the podcast last night. I really like all three of those guys. Um, I don't want to say Eduardo Escobar's name. I'll say it and like kind of duck in case any of our listeners and viewers are
Sure.
want to throw something at me. I understand, but he has hit lefties historically well, and that hasn't been any different this year. Brendan Donovan leading off against Blake Lively, or is it what Blake Lively's like the singer or actress? What is
Yeah.
this? Ben Lively. Ben
Blake
Lively, not
Blake's
Blake.
the actress.
Actress, yes. And then like I don't. That's
Yeah,
like it. Miguel Vargas is probably
Miguel
like my
Vargas is definitely the guy I would look at. I'd throw darts at Harold Castro as well here. Again, you're getting a lefty bat in Coors. We rode him for a little bit while he was hot, cooling off now, but Darvish hittable. So I think those are some of the value plays. Vargas is going to be in a lot of lineups. I do like the Dodgers a lot here today as well. Third base position, James. Moving on over, a lot of top end names. But Machado at $5,200, I think tops our list today.
Machado definitely tops our list, heating up. He's been really good against lefties. He's had all his struggles against righties, so it's definitely Machado for me. Pivot to Ryan McMahon, I think is perfectly fine. I've talked about Rockies a lot this live stream, so Machado McMahon for me at the top, and I'll just pay homage to Jose Ramirez's elite night on
hard to argue with
Thursday.
Ramirez able to do last night. Austin Riley, the power homer again last night, and we talked about
Sure.
righties. They're the ones doing the damage against Josiah Gray. Good home run potential for $4,800. If we're going down into the mid tier range here, any names particularly popping out for you?
Ha-Seong Kim, if you want to play him at third or shortstop,
Yep.
he's hit lefties really well. They've even opted to lead him off sometimes. They're not tonight, but I think he's the better shortstop option of the team. I know we're talking about third, but you could play him at either position if you did want to fade Manny Machado. That's really it. Maybe Josh Donaldson. We know Garrett Whitlock has been bad against right-handed pitching, and Donaldson's been kind of good, at least since coming back, particularly with the power. 3 home runs in 5 games.
I got a couple just punt plays down here. I like Chris Taylor at 3K. Again, a guy that just hits for power against lefties. I think you can
Dude.
certainly go in that direction. We mentioned Castro. Donovan Solano is leading off for Minnesota at 2,200 against lefty. Last year, we played a lot of Solano against lefties. He is
Don't admit that, John.
he's a
Don't
boring
admit that.
player, but I mean, the guy was getting on base. He was hitting them really well last year. So if you're looking for just, you want to get different on a big slate tonight, I think Solano here against Kikuchi leading off for the Twins, I think it could be a potential spot. Again, this year against lefties, he's doing it again. 320, 460 slug, 819 OPS. He is not going to hit you a home run, but he could hit you a double. He could score a run, and he's $2,200. So that's my only other punt down here at third base.
He could hit you a couple doubles. Couple
could definitely do that. Shortstop here. We like Ellie. Value play. They finally bumped his price up. He's $3,700, but like Ellie a lot. Royce Lewis, our guy Tom Vecchio tweeted out a home run play for him today. He's $3,800, kind of the mid 3K range here at shortstop. But we know there's elite talent at the top of the position as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be willing to get to Trey Turner hitting fourth. Once again, Lindor has always been better from the right side of the plate, hitting fourth for the Mets if you want to stack them. If you want to be contrarian, Matt McClain continues to arguably be the Reds' best hitter, continuing his multi-hit stretch of 3 in a row and 5 of his last 6. If you want to play McClain, I'm fine with that. So, and then honestly, Willy Adames, he's going to face righty 3 at-bats in this sample, who he's notoriously been better against righties and at home. That's been the Willy Adames MO his whole career. So I like those guys at the top.
I'm 100% with you there. I'm just checking to see if there's anybody worthy of value consideration down here. Marcano, maybe?
Yeah, he's leading off. Yeah, I mean, McGill hasn't been great. So, me and Justin Vreeland in the Fantasy Alarm Discord had this debate the other day. What is Marcano's upside? Well, he's given us 30 fantasy points in a game this year. So, am I expecting that? No, but he's homered and stolen a base in the game twice this year. So,
so if you're going there against McGill, McGill's a fine pitcher. He's nothing crazy. So, again, he's leading off at $2,400. So I like that. Going on over to the outfield here, our guy BZ has another question asking us in the outfield. Now that I think about it, Atlanta's highly owned. Would you pivot to Tommy Pham? It's a good transition here, James, because Tommy Pham today is hitting third for the New York Mets. Any interest in Tommy Pham here today? He was asking about Ozuna and Harris. If you had to pick Ozuna, Harris, or Pham tonight, what's your thoughts?
Look, I'm going to say it like this. I joked with John before the stream. I said, John, did you see the Mets lineup? Tommy Pham hitting third. And we both had a good laugh. He has monster numbers against left-handed pitching this year. Not just monster slaps. He has monster numbers. 271 ISO, 367 WOBA, almost a 12% walk rate for Tommy Pham against left-handed pitching. And let's face it. Dude, right. And Rich Hill, 228 ISO, 349 WOBA allowed to righties. I like Tommy Pham. As much of a joke as it was, $2,900, you're not going to find many better values for a guy who is as hot as he is and hitting third tonight. Let's just face facts. I agree, BZ. I think it's a nice pivot. Him and Ozuna as 2 of your outfield spots provides you a ton of salary for the rest of your position.
Ozuna homering again the other day now and just hitting right-handed pitching.
Last night.
Last night. Just hammering right-handed pitching. So some good value there. Top end of the outfield that we talk about all the time. Figure out your stack and pay up for the outfielder that you want. If you're in on San Diego tonight, Tatis for me over Soto just because it's the lefty matchup there. Fine with Acuna. We talked about the power numbers. Gray against the righties. Acuna can get on, seal a bag. Mookie Betts is fine. Bryce Harper is going to get the righty there. It's a Grove once Gonzalez is out after the first inning here. So pick your guy, put him in the lineup. Totally 100% fine with any of these top options, really. Maybe the only one I don't play tonight, Reynolds, I guess, would be up over right?
Yeah, probably, but this is his better split too. That's the only issue. I largely agree, but it is, worth noting. This is maybe Julio Rodriguez against Ohtani is something we stay away from.
I agree with you. If you want to be different tonight, I think Yoshida homers tonight for Boston. I said that on the show last night.
Ooh, spicy.
Again, he's on fire as it is. 366, 983, 561 slug. You get the right field. It's his first game in Yankee Stadium. Garrett Cole gave up 8 home runs in the month of May and 6 starts. So I think the lefties here could do some damage against Cole. So I'm fine going with Yoshida at 51. If you want to be different for a Boston stack here, I think that certainly plays up. Where else are you going in the outfield, man, if we're looking at this range?
Nick Castellanos, 4,900 is one of my favorite plays because I expect Schwarber and Harper to be the higher owned of the Phillies outfield. So I'll definitely go Nick Castellanos. He's raked against lefties, so he'll get in that bat against them. And then he's also hit against righties. He's hitting 395 over his last 10 games. He's hitting everybody. Charlie Blackmon, 4,700, continuing my Rockies theme. Leading off tonight, Yu Darvish has struggled with power. I know he's not exactly a power hitter anymore, but there is still some pop left in his bat. Same with Grishik at 44. But Anthony Santander is someone that you and I play a lot against lefties. He has another sick year going in terms of power. 264 ISO against lefties, 429 WOBA. Both those numbers lead the Orioles. So those are just some of the guys in the mid-tier.
Yeah, I like it. Austin Hayes leading off tonight at $3,700 is pretty interesting. I know this year the numbers better against righties, but historically profiling. Are they flipping? Are they finally starting to flip?
It's because we're getting a bigger sample. 206 ISO to 355 WOBA.
It's always been this way for Hayes against lefties. For a while this year, it flipped. Good to see him finally starting to get back there as well. I like his Story Ruiz as a value play today at $3,400, and just the solo base potential is going to be up there. Sawinski with the power potential against McGill at $3,400, I think plays up here as well. We talked about Ozuna already. Anybody else down here for you for value outfields today?
Yeah, I got a sneaky outfielder here, and it's Jesus Sanchez.
Yeah, we haven't talked much Miami, but Dylan Cease has not been very good this year. So
no, he's been bad against lefties, particularly. Against left-handed bats, 182 ISO, 338 WOBA, and we know Dylan Cease is a strikeout arm, and he has been that against right-handed bats, 28.4% strikeout rate. Just a 21% strikeout rate against lefties, John, and I already just profiled the numbers against him. Sanchez is really cheap. He also has a 267 ISO and a 408 WOBA against right-handed pitching, and he's coming into this game homering in 2 straight games. He's homered 3 times since coming off the IL. Guy is just locked in, and this is a guy that people pegged as a 30 home run hitter last year, and now we're starting to see the fruits of that labor this year. So Jesus Sanchez, 3,300.
I don't like it as a one-off. Again, we didn't really talk much Miami. Cease has not been very good. They just don't have a lot of guys I want to stack. No. Their offense isn't exciting, but Soler has power. Right. Obviously, Sanchez, Brian De La Cruz. There's guys in that lineup that can't. I mean, Luis Urias is hitting 400.
He's hitting 400. He's hitting 400. He's
only going to get you a couple singles here, but all right. So that's our value outfield. Let's go over here. Grande's Gems, Pemba's Imprints. James, run it down for me. Give me your home run call.
Home run call tonight is going to be Bryce Harper. Philly. I love Philly tonight, and just to parlay that into my favorite stack of the night is going to be Philly. I can't really say enough good things about them. In terms of my contrarian stack, it's going to be the Rocky. I'm actually going to go with the Rockies as my contrarian stack. So I'll do the Rockies as my contrarian stack. My top play, my superstar of the night, rather, is going to be Bryce Harper. And my value play of the night is going to be Jesus Sanchez as a one-off for the market.
My home run call, I'm going to go with you. I went with Devers on the Better Sports Betting Show. It's plus 400. So I'm going to go there today for my home run call. For my top stack, I mean, there's a lot of different directions that I think you can go here tonight. I like Cincinnati as a contrarian stack because of the value options that you're going to get in lineups here today. I think Baltimore could be a little interesting as a contrarian play, but the Dodgers to me are the top stack. And you're telling me that no one's playing them today? I love that. Nobody. So give me the Dodgers as my top stack. Give me the Reds as my contrarian stack here for today. And I guess they're going to be double contrarian. I'm not saying I don't like the Padres. I like the Padres a lot, but give me the Dodgers and the Reds here tonight. as well. And then for my value play of the day, as we kind of work our way through, I'm going to go with Miguel Vargas. I like the over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs for him tonight. He's $3,000 at second base, $3,100 at second base. So give me Miguel Vargas as my top value play there. BZ wants to know thoughts on the Oakland hitters today. I don't know. Not really my favorite spot to go against Oakland that often. We kind of like Hauser. So it can be different.
It's an interesting approach. Yeah.
That I'm looking
I mean, Hauser hasn't been he doesn't miss bats. Lefties have had good numbers. I will say they've been better with Noda and Seth Brown hitting right now. Like if you wanted to play
Jace
the
Peterson
mini
revenge
stack
game,
Ooh, Jace Peterson revenge. They're hitting Noda second, Brown third, Peterson fifth. If you wanted to play the lefties, they have a 348 WOBA against Adrian Hauser this year. That would probably be
sure. And then our guy Ice through here, Castro, Garlic, Correa stack for the Twins today. Sure.
So we're getting 2 guaranteed at bats out of Kyle Garlic and nothing after that. So he needs the home runner. He needs the home runner.
It's okay. Again,
it's possible.
Listen, we like Twins most nights, not today.
I think that the Garlic case may be at its best tonight because Kikuchi gives up so much power, and Kyle Garlic only hits for power against lefties. Like that is quite literally been the only thing he's done.
So sure, I don't mind it as a pure punt play. Michael Taylor hits lefties historically well. Also $2,000.
They're so cheap.
You can play the whole Twins lineup for under.
No.
I'm just saying you can do it. Kyle Farmer, I don't want to waste any more time. We got to get a lineup out for these people here, James. We'll build a Coors lineup for people, and if we have time, we'll build an anti-Coors. But we will be in our Discord after this show. FantasyStorm.com/all-pro promo code MLB50 saves you 50% off the first 6 months, and that gets you access to all of our premium content, including our premium Discord, which will be in there helping you guys out with lineup questions up until roster lock. So if we don't get you an anti-Coors lineup before the stream ends, we'll get to you maybe one in the Discord. James, are we going double mid-tier spend today? What are we doing?
Yeah, we could. I went Tyler Wells. I did start toying with the Ohtani idea, but we don't need to. It's hard to get.
Go Yuri?
Yeah, it's hard to get Philly, or we go Kikuchi. We could even dip down into our against Ice Throw and use our Kikuchi shares.
Shivers Kikuchi.
Right, then let's go Hauser.
Okay, Hauser works.
Because then we'll be able to forward San Diego.
Everybody we want.
Yeah, so El Gary at catcher for sure. 100%. I use Miguel Vargas at second base.
Okay.
I think we're still going to stay with the Ellie train at shortstop, just given the upside at $3,700. I went Bryce Harper. Now, here I don't have anything else filled out because do we want Devers at third? He's your home run call.
Yeah. I'm fine not going Devers for the home run call.
Okay.
Depends on how we want to build this lineup here.
Okay.
If we want to kind of start getting a stack around, the
way that we'd get Devers is I think using Cody Clemens at first because
so this is going to turn into our mixed Coors lineup then, right?
Yeah, and then we use Tatis in the outfield, and then we have $4,200 basically for we have $4,200. You have Mookie Betts. Oh, so that's Chris Taylor. I like that actually.
All right. If we're not spending all the way up at pitcher, we can spend 3 top tier outfielders: Harper, Tatis, Betts. You got Taylor and Vargas as a 2-man stack in the middle of the lineup up against lefties. You got Ellie as a one-off, Cody Clemens and Bryce Harper, again not really connected, but power against the Grove there, and then Gary Sanchez kicking off as a power outfield there, so a catcher rather. So a lot of different combinations can be made. Again, James and I will be in the Discord, so if you have any questions, sign up. We have a 7-day free trial as well, by the way. So FantasyAlarm.com/all-pro promo code MLB50 saves you 50% off the first 6 months. Get access to everything we do on site that's premium and our premium Discord, and we have a 7-day free trial. James, have a good weekend, my friend. We'll be back here on Monday with a podcast in the morning, live stream at night. Good luck, everybody. We'll talk to y'all later.